So here we have Ella Blunt and her horse, the Stride Guide. They're warming up. It's always important to make sure your horse has at least a little bit of focus before you start practicing even old skills, which in this horse's case, they are old skills. He's an intermediate level showmanship horse. Ella is a intermediate to advanced level showmanship handler. They're going to demonstrate beginning showmanship today for you. He's a little fresh. He's had a few days off. The weather is very, very cold. You can see he is in his back on track. It's very important for us to keep his back warm. Just moving him around, moving his feet around, making sure he's listening. When it comes to the fundamentals of showmanship, there is a few things to remember, and I use very easy acronym. ROPE. ROPE is the acronym. Easy to remember because, Ella, what are you holding in your hands?
A rope.
A rope, right. So the first thing is the R, which is for rhythm and respect. Rhythm in your movement and in your horse's movement. Respect from your horse. The O stands for obedience. Obedience from your horse, which they can do when they understand what it is you're asking. They understand what it is you're asking when you are precise and consistent with your body position. That's the P. And you are precise with your position when you are executing the maneuvers. Executing is the last thing we do. That's the actual performance of showmanship. So, Ella, show us what leading position is. She is walking with purpose. It's a forward walk, keeping your horse's brain and legs engaged. Her eyes are up, looking where she's going. Her hands are even, as if she's balancing a tray on her forearms. Square with her body. She's keeping her horse walking. She's staying right at the throat latch and or the buckle of the halter, whichever works best for your horse. She's not letting her horse get ahead of her or lagging behind. That's where the respect comes in. Show me a halt. See how her shoulders came back? It's very, very important. And then she immediately transitioned into setup position, which is where you want to stand when you want your horse to stand still. And back to leading position. See how she is facing forward squarely. Her horse is walking forward squarely. Now show me what you do with your shoulders when you ask for a trot. See how she inclined ever so slightly. And yes, expect your horse to be sassy. That is fine. It is winter. It is the off season. We are not required to lunge or be perfect. And back to the walk. See how she brought her shoulders back ever so slightly? This is what I'm talking about with precision in position. And trot. Eventually your horse picks up on your body language, and you can do this off of body language only. And walk. And trot. And halt. And see how she immediately turns so that her toes are pointing toward his front feet, and this moves us into the setup position. When you are setting your horse, there is no wrong way to set your horse. The key is to do it consistently every time. Do it the same so your horse learns. Go ahead and walk, Ella, and let's set him up on the other side over by the gate. So long as you do it the same, your horse will get faster and more consistent. There is fine too. One trick, if you will, is to leave their pivot foot, which is their right hind, in place and set up the other 3 around it. Because eventually when we do pivots, we want to encourage them to keep that foot still, keep it planted on the ground. If we're not even moving it in the setup, very nice, Ella. Let him stand for a minute. If we're not even moving it when we set them up, then we are encouraging them, to hold it still all of the time. One thing you can do to improve your setups is to make them set up every time you handle them. If you bring them on to the cross ties, set them up. Before you get on at the mounting block, set them up. Go ahead, Ella, and trot around a couple times just to burn off a little steam. See how she leans her body forward, maybe uses a couple of verbal cues, and off they go. And it's forward, forward, forward. These 2 have been working together long enough, you may have noticed that they sync up with their legs. That is ideal. That is nothing to expect early on. When they're fresh, expect moments. He hasn't been lunged. He did have turnout. And walk. And halt. And now let's move into backup position. You'll see her shoulders are perpendicular to his body, exactly opposite a leading position, slightly in front of his nostril. For most horses that works. Do not step in front of your horse directly though. Go ahead and walk him forward and do that again, Ella. The key to a good backup is to keep your eyes up. By keeping your eyes up, you're keeping your hand on the shank, which should only be about 3 inches from that square in his halter. You're keeping it up. If you keep it up, it keeps your horse's shoulders up. If your horse's shoulders are up, they can march backwards. Go ahead and walk forward and do that again, Ella. And I want you to drop your eyes and look at his fetlocks. Keep your eyes down and pull down with your hand when you ask him to back. And let's see the difference in that backup. See, now we're struggling and we're crooked. If you keep your eyes up and look at their hip bone, use that hip bone to line up on something, and you keep that hand that's on the shank up. Big difference in their backup. Go ahead and walk forward. He's thrilled with being used as a guinea pig. And let's demonstrate that backup one more time. We stop by bringing our shoulders back. We turn. We're facing backwards. Our eyes are up, and our hands are up. We are not letting our eyes drop or our hands drop. He still wanted to get a little crooked. That's him. He hasn't been schooled in showmanship. All horses tend to get crooked. So the most important thing to worry about is it's just like backing a trailer. So his hips wanted to drift to the left. The first thing you do is push their nose in the direction that their hips are getting crooked in. So let's back up one more time. If his hips drop left, Ella is going to take her hand and shove her horse's nose to the outside. There we go. And that's going to drive his butt to the right. All right, Ella, I want you to trot around, turn and come directly at the camera. From C. There you go. You can turn and halt roughly even with the cone if you'd like. Now, see, your horse was a little forward. He's not super dialed into her body position. The more you practice, the more your horse gets dialed into what you're doing with your shoulders, the less hand you need. Ideally, you're using no hand pressure whatsoever. All right, Ella, let's do that again. Go ahead and walk off. You're going to trot back around. Feel free to cut close behind me. You're going to trot at that camera again, and I want you to show everyone what happens when you pull your hand toward your belly button when you whoa. It's very important to be precise with your body position. That includes keeping your hands up and keeping them even, especially in your whoa. Everyone wants to pull their hand in toward their body, and you see what happened to his hips. Immediately, they shot out to the side. he's crooked, that's a huge points off. All right, Ella, let's do it again and show him correctly again. Maybe open your hand slightly and push his nose away. If you have a horse that's chronic about dropping their hips to the outside, pushing their nose away from you in a halt will help correct that. That will get your straightness back. You cannot do anything riding, showmanship, without straightness and forward. Let's do that again. We had a little more impulsion. The butt just kept on moving. Let's give him a little bit of warning that that whoa is coming just because he's fresh. See how much straighter he is this time? Very nice. And let's back. Eyes up. Keep your hands up. So he wants to get crooked. She's going to correct this by pushing his nose away, maybe even backing a circle. If you have a horse that's chronic about backing crooked, we will back a circle and push their hips in the direction that they don't want to go. So let's go ahead and back an arc. Finish up with his butt over here by the cone where you had halted. Very nice, Ella. You back that arc by pushing their nose away, their butt comes around toward you. I don't know if you can hear him snorting on the microphone, but he definitely is. Woo. Very nice. And let's walk off and give him a breather. It's also very, very important to give your horse a break every now and then. A mental break, a physical break. Let them process what you've been working on. The next time you're down here roughly by the cone, Ella, you're going to halt. And you're going to show me what pivot position is. See, in pivot position, her body is parallel to her horse's. She allows her eye to drop back to his pivot foot. Encourages his velociraptor body to move around. It's okay if they're sassy when you're practicing in the winter. We work to get rid of that, but understand sometimes your horse has extra energy. Very good. For the most part, he kept that pivot foot locked down, even if he was being sassy and trying to be a bit of a pest. Smudge, come here. The important thing is figuring out where you need to be in relation to your horse's rest of your body so that he maintains straightness through his spine, whether you are back by the buckle on the crown piece of his halter, his eye, or up by his nostril. It's important to keep your body parallel to his. You can watch the pivot foot if you need to. Let's do that again, Ella. If you open your left shoulder as you're going around in a circle, your horse is going to be encouraged to walk forward. So make sure you stay parallel to their body. Very nice. Woo. Now, Ella, let's walk a square. It's been a while. This is how you teach a horse to pivot. So you're going to be tracking to your right. You're going to walk forward, do a 90-degree turn, walk forward again. The important thing is they plant that right hind and they take that first step off when you walk forward with their left hind. Feel free, if their shoulders lag behind, to reach over and tap them around. You can use your voice at this stage if you need to, but they should be moving out of your space when you walk toward them. It is not unusual to have a crop or use the end of the rope to encourage their shoulders to move over. So feel free, Ella, to show us how we would school their shoulders moving over if they did not know. Ah, like there, he dragged his shoulders over. So go ahead and swap hands on your rope. And you're going to show us for the next two. Very good. One more. Go ahead and push your shoulders over. See, he got a little bit too far back because he's not a horse that needs the encouragement to move his shoulders around, and he took that first step with the wrong hind there. Again, that's okay. We move on, and we aim for correct the next time. All right, Ella, let's come directly straight on at the camera and set your horse up for inspection. I'm going to try to zoom out a little bit so that we can show you what exactly we are looking for here. So you can consider there to be quadrants with your horse. One line bisects the withers, going east and west. You notice that her feet are pointing at a 45 directly at his front feet. One line bisects your horse. Thank you, smile, but no. North and south, following the spot. A little bit. This forms 4 boxes. At no point are you ever in the same box as the judge or whoever is inspecting you. Smudge, no. So as I walk around the horse, Ella is in that box there, I'm in this box here, I moved on to the next box. She should always be in an adjacent box, but never the same one, no. She only has 2 options, the front 2 boxes. I, as the judge, am walking through all 4. She transitions from one side to the other as smoothly as possible with as minimal amount of steps as possible without getting into her horse's space. This may require her to slide her hand up and down her lead. Practice makes smooth. It gives you rhythm. And that's the easiest way to practice setup in a box system. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Showmanship 101.